Good morning, good morning. Today we're taking a look at XRP on some different time intervals, the Russel, liquidity, and the Sigma coin. So, all right, starting today off with the 3-day indicator, which you can get access to at the token gated Sigma Discord. That will give you the ability to put any ticker in you would like and get this indicator applied to it, which is pretty cool. Right now we're still just green, right? So this guy's just kind of weak and sideways. A little bit of a possible bearish divergence on the momentum as the momentum increases and then weakens here, and we're just going to get a new candle that's going to form here in the next 12 hours or so, and we'll start watching that one. So we have at least until January 28th, if not longer, before we get an actual signal on this. So far so good. We're just kind of holding steady here on the larger momentum that you could see has been pretty consistent on where you should exit before it gets really bad with just this one little wrong foot here. But otherwise it was not too painful, and you're back into the play here. So all right, so now that with that out of the way, let's jump into the shorter time frames. So we have this structure playing out right now, which is the breakdown that we've had, which is an ABC. Since then, structure-wise, we did what I would call a 5-wave move to the upside based off this count right now, with a 5, 3, 5 that is completed. And this section right here, I just kind of drew a general resistance line. You could put these kind of wherever you want, right? So we could pull it all the way up to the top of the range here, and we could put it there, and then we can say maybe we're on top of everything right now, like that. So that's also still valid. So I figured probably, and what we're talking about is this section right here. So what we've kind of done is we've made it out of this line. We're now basically looking for support, and we're starting to see that, are we going to just kind of back test this a few times, or are we just going to use this as a launch pad to kind of get out of here? And what's cool about this mini time frame that we're in right now is we're actually going to be able to identify our larger time frame based off of its behavior. So with this kind of breakdown that we've done, the first thing that I noticed is I've seen this before, right? So this right here is very similar to the 1010 capitulation event for XRP. And since then, we've basically, let's take a look at it. So here we go. So here's the larger time frame breakdown. So you have a impulse off the lows, a sideways triangle, and then you have a breakdown of 1010, a smack back up to the top of the range, a rollover, and then a bounce and a back test, right? So here's that same exact area. There's your 1010, a breakout, back test, move back up to the top of the range, a rollover, and now we have a little mini bull flag here that's played out here, right? So we basically did that rollover, and then we do a little mini bull flag, and we accumulate or consolidate here at this point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then we'll just do that right here on this count so you can see it. And we go 1, let's see here, there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll just count that as kind of like a weird liquid wick there. Where was it? It was forced. Then there's that breakout, and then you have a pullback, slow and steady, pullback, slow and steady, and then from there you have another breakout back to mid-range. So that would mean realistically we can expect we would be moving back up into the 216 range here pretty soon. Then we pull back down to the mid-range, build support yet again, get outside of this wedge, and then depending on how this plays, we should be in good shape. So my suspicion is up, right? Because if we're using this larger macro trend here of what we have, the next trade would be back up to this region, and this mini tiny play here would actually take us back up into this region right here of if it was the other chart. So there we go. So if we're back into this little bounce here, here's that consolidation, the breakdown. We back test into the consolidation, right here. So I could expect that we would see this weekend probably about 213, 215, and then take most of it back and build another base on it. So we will see how that plays, but we'll draw a little line here just so we can kind of have it. And what we would expect to do is move something along these lines. We move back up to here, and then we pull back again, and then from there we're going to see another breakout from there at that level. So that's what we're basically working on, the idea, because this larger macro move looks identical to this little mini move where, again, there's our pullback and a pullback up to the top of the range, and we would get back up into here, just like that, then slide back down again, slide back down again, consolidate, and then this is expected to go higher. So that would be where we would expect this to go higher. So it's just a little bit of inception there, but that's just kind of what I thought was really fascinating, that I saw literally the same setup for this breakdown on XRP, but on a larger time frame right there. So short time frame and then large time frame. So, all right, so we're going to just kind of see how that plays. We'll see if I'm right. Then we move back up pretty quickly and impulsively off of these lows back into the 212, 213 range. So then next is I wanted to bounce over to the Russell. So I did some interesting things here. So the Russell has a pretty good here breakout continuation that it's been working on. So yesterday they sold off a lot of this and bought back the majors from the Russell here, so they took some profits off of that. But what we've done, and it's not on this one, so let me switch to the other guy. Here we go. So what they've done is they have broken out, right? So we've got this Russell, very clear breakout here on the 3-day, right? So we zoom in. Okay, we don't have any of our line. Oh, there they are. Okay, good. So here's the Russell. Here's the price action, resistance, breakout, back test, breakout, right? So we've now made it so that the Russell is working its way off the lows and is aggressively finding its way out of here, right? So that's bullish. So now, that being said, this right here is the total 3 minus stable coins. So we went back in time and we found out what is this guy doing back in the day that we had the Russell doing. So the when the Russell broke out back in 2020, we had the capitulation, the grind all the way back up to the top of the range, and the smack through, right? So then that smack through ultimately led to altcoins themselves, which is right here in this blue area, taking an expansion upward, and that expansion upward, after following along with the Russell, occurred 45 days later. Okay, this is, again, this blue line is everybody minus Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the stablecoin. So it has XRP in it. So the and then everything else. So this 45-day run generally resulted in the breakout manifesting right around that time at 45 days. So give or take. So so the 45 days for the breakout off the lows going, and then it just continued with the Russell as the Russell then went sideways, pretty much followed along, capitulated with the Russell through the breakdown here, so you can see how they're basically running the same, ran up with the Russell again here, and then now we're here in our new timeline, right? And so what our new timeline has done that's been very fascinating is that they have not stayed in sync, right? So they normally were following each other for risk on, and you had this pretty much a follow level, and then bam, that pretty much got wrecked as of October, which is when the 10 event started playing out. They just really got creamed, right? But the small caps, or the Russell, kept going. So if this is a massive catch-up play, right, where people just are bidding these small caps super quickly, there's a good chance that this deviation between the two, which really hasn't happened through most of the time of the altcoins, could be something along these lines, right? So if you look right here, you can see that the Russell continues grinding up, and the altcoins are just chopping to the side, similar to right here. And then as it continues going, all of a sudden, bam, you have a huge breakout in December, right? So there's just this pressure cooker of price action right here before the breakout actually happens. So again, we can just kind of see that there's this catch up that occurs, right? So it's just Russell's grinding its way higher, nothing is happening here, bam, all of a sudden it's just right there back with it. So if we have a catch up trade, then we are poised for it, because the alts have not performed anywhere near the Russell, and there's been a huge deviation since November, right? So that deviation, though, is generally 45 days. So if that's the case, mid-February to late February, we should see a full expansion and catch-up, where the Russell then goes and the small caps chain of the altcoins catch up with the Russell, and you end up having that expansion very, very quickly into the whole thing. So So anyways, that's what we're watching here. And so we're just going to see if there's a catch-up play that ultimately occurs. Could be easily middle of next month. So maybe later, of course. And it's just because we're guessing on what the time was for this section here, where we had the Russell and the small caps. They were basically kind of in sync. And then there was this delay. Russell kept going. And that delay ultimately resulted in a breakout somewhere between 45 to 52 days. So that would take us to August 16th to, there we go, let's do 53 days to somewhere in, February, kind of last week of February. So, all right, guys, so I think it's pretty close. I think we're very much closer than people are realizing, and I'm excited for it because it's lining up with our indicators that are indicating. So, finally, liquidity over weekend. Here's this weekly chart. Holy majoli, you got liquidity down. You got liquidity up, right? This is opening up that doors for a sweep back up pretty aggressively into this higher, 210 time frame. But they might even go and sweep these guys first and take out 186 before they go to 210. I mean, it could just we're going to just see some wild stuff this weekend is my suspicion. It's just going to be pretty nuts. And the Sigma coin is in a pretty good correction, and it's working its way down here. So as this loads, we're going to ultimately see here on this one day, we've reset the Stoch RSI. The regular RSI is reset, and we're just doing a regular wave 2 retrace for accumulation purposes. And I was hoping we'd grab some support here at 618, but now we're just kind of slowly bleeding through it. Count-wise, I do see that we are already at a potential ABC completion. So you got yourself the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then all this chop right here is at ABC, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's your potential level, and then you would just look to the left for some liquidity. There's a pretty big demand here at the 702. I can see even more demand at the 786, and then there is this potential inefficiency down to the 886. And these meme coins like to hit that 886, so it could give you a massive discount again of another 80K off. So if you wanted to join the Sigma Tokecated Discord, you will have a sale, friend. Time to DCA all up in here. So, and that's again where we utilize just kind of daily updates. We use our momentum indicators, and we've got the information where we can have custom questions and custom charts that we can play off of. So, so basically to recap, we've got ourselves a potential 4-hour kind of ultimately grinding back up into the 214 range. We've got ourselves the shorter time frame holding on top of this line, and could potentially be our breakout levels. So this would push us back again up into this level here. And then we zoom in on our 1 hour. We can even see that this price action in the structure matches what we've been doing before, and pushing it up to the again into the 215 range. So how this plays will be kind of like a blueprint of what's coming up next. And then finally, our 4 hour is still looking. Our 3 day is still looking great, and we have the ability to potentially push higher. So thanks so much for watching this longer video today, and hopefully that was helpful, and we will check in tomorrow.